The River Realms, they call it. What a fine poetic name for something as rotten and twisted as our land has become. It was not always so. Long ago, the old empire, the noblest and most enduring society created by humankind, spanned almost the entire continent of Zerine, the cradle of man. But after several millennia of progress and incomparable achievements, inevitably, the empire began to fall into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their privileges and resisting change while trying to avert the collapse of the realm, the emperor and his theocracy took to measures that were worthy of true despots in cruelty. Subjugating weaker realms, enslaving whole nations, strip mining foreign resources, oppressing imperial citizens, war on several fronts, genocide. Eventually, the gods could no longer tolerate such horrors wrought in their name. Foretold by an abundance of divine omens, they descended upon the empire to right its wrongs. Thus, in a chain of dreadful events that became known as the Calamity, they annihilated the empire in a matter of days. The gods then finally saw what they had done in their anger and confusion. It is said that so much grief and shame filled them that they were broken and they left this reality, never to return. The continent and its inhabitants seemed dead, but at length survivors began to crawl out of their hiding holes and faced a land that no longer welcomed them. Arcane Anomalies, the fallout of the Calamity, now riddled the continent, and people realized that they had to share their new home with changed and twisted creatures. Terrible beings entered through the cracks in the tapestry of reality and rose to rule over the natives. In time, these new powers rebuilt the fallen empire in their own image, and the River Realms, now godless and vengeful, reincarnated from the ashes. The inhabitants of the land, such as I, now eke out a living under the crushing rule of the new empire. The continent itself constantly resists our every attempt at building a cozy home for ourselves. As travel is dangerous, many ventures specialize in transferring cargo and passengers over bleak and deadly leagues of land. Others try to take everything of value from said travelers, or attempt to find buried treasures among the ruins of the old empire. The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the River Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
Yo! How amazing was that intro to this game? Vagrus, the Riven Realms. This game is still in early access on Steam, but the developers were kind enough to grant me a dev copy, a preview copy, and this is so good so far. I've only played like 10 minutes, but this game is madness. It's basically a trading simulation from everything that I've seen so far, but it's basically set in like a post-apocalyptic kind of fantastic Rome. It's so good. This game looks amazing. Now, there is a lot of reading in this game, so I'm going to be reading a lot to you. If you get it, you're going to be doing a lot of reading yourself. So if you're looking for like an action-y game where things constantly happen, this might not be the game for you. But if you're interested in getting into lore, into backstory, this is so good so far. Just mwah. I'm so happy with this. Nothing beside remains. Round to the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley, 1818.
Ah, yes, a Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
Already, I love this. This is great. So, just so we understand some of the terminology here, a comitatus is one of those trade caravans that cross those desolate wastes, and a vagrus, a vagrant, a vagabond, a traveler, is the person that leads these comitati. So tell us your tale, old man. It'll at least help kill the time. And this will let us play Pilgrims of the Wasteland. This is kind of the tutorial introduction to the game.
Wise you are, good master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, traveling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west.
So good.
This comitatus I speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. E01, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrapheap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Now, I just want to take a little bit of a moment here just to talk about how something that kind of bothers me about this game. And this is the only one thing that's bothered me so far. We've got like all these Latin words, comitatus and Vagrus, and we've got E01, the Saint of Roads, and there's so much lore and there's so much immersion. And then the town is called Scrapheap. Like, couldn't we have chosen a different name for this? Like, even like debris or detritus? Detritus? Something like that. Something that sounds a little bit more lore friendly than Scrapheap. But that's tiny little minor complaint. So good. Welcome to Pilgrims of the Wasteland, a standalone story of Vagrus, the Riven realms. It serves as an introduction to the setting and also as a tutorial to the game. It behooves you to read the tutorial text and follow the instructions to get a better understanding of how the game works. The icon can be clicked in the tutorial window to show what the section is referring to via a pointer. Whoop. Note that you have to be on the right UI screen for the pointer to appear. No, Vagrus is an open world game. Due to Pilgrims of the Wasteland being a tutorial, it progresses along a narrow guided path in the beginning and opens up only later after the core mechanics have been introduced, and I can always access the hotkey list by pressing F11. Fantastic. Now this is the campaign map. We've got the year, it's 1097, month 2, day 11, it's the week 2 of Albea. We've got all these different, I don't know, are these the names of the weeks? I don't know. We'll figure this out. We have supplies for 7 days. We have cargo of 214. So there's a maximum and available cargo space in your hold. I have the maximum is 214. I have 60 available. 23 brass, 8 lurg, and 5 changers. So it's 10 to 10 to 10. So it's basically 2,385. Yeah. 2,385. Figure we are fresh. Fantastic because of our nutrition. Our morale is steady at 4, and our movement is 10 movement points. How far we can travel each day. And each step on the campaign map costs MP. So we can travel 3, and then 3, and then 2, and then 2, and 2, and 2. Right? Fairly simple. Now, on the campaign map, your comitatus, your traveling company, always occupies a node. It moves between nodes through paths. Moving along paths cost movement points indicated next to each path. Any of my math students will understand this is basically graph theory. Every in-game day, you have a number of movement points to spend before you need to camp. To move, click on a nearby node and select Move from the radial menu. You can select the node that is further away. The MP cost of moving there will be calculated in the path highlighted. So let's move to... Whoops. Do not right-click. Let's move to Scrap Heap. And this just shows you how long it will, the MP cost to get to that town. Or to that node that you selected. Now, most of the story, this is behind my head, but trust me, it's there. Most of the story is presented through interactive texts called events. Events let you make different choices at each step, and some choices can have a number of consequences, while others have various dependencies. And dependencies mean that you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisites, skills, perks, characters, and so on. To select a choice, click on it, or use 1 to 9 to select the one you like. So, this is the event, and there's like a river of lava with these old statues. So cool. Everything was wonderful, like the skeleton with this old Legionnaire's helmet with even like the lore with around it, and guarding your camp effectively puts a strain on your guards. Oh, too bad. That's literally their one job. Now, having got ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your comitatus slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, the hills smolder lazily in the perpetual twilight. Are you all right? Javek's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him, your gaze lost in the distance where ash cloaks the horizon and the towering mountains to the south and west. You tune to your commes and note his supportive smile. You and Javek have been traveling the realms together for years now. There is no person in the world you trust more than him. Except, perhaps, yourself. Perhaps? Interesting. I know that you feel like your hands are tired, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here. So that's, I guess, that's a picture of Javek. And so how do we respond? Time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot and you know it. There wasn't much of a choice. Either this or returning my trading license and hanging myself. That's dark. It has to work. We cannot fail. Not like this. Or, thank you, but the last thing I need right now is a clumsy pep talk, even if it's well-meant. Ooh. That one sounds kind of like a jerk. Let's say it has to work. We cannot fail. Not like this. Let's pick it. You glance at Javek and notice the worried look he is giving you. You turn away back to the horizon. No reason to be crestfallen yet. We just stick to the plan. Why should it not work? Your friend says cheerfully. You know that there could be hundreds of reasons, but you do not feel like reminded. Yes, plan 8. It might work. Yes. The plan. You talked to your traveling company into this a few weeks ago, but with each step towards the western mountains, more and more of them start to have doubts. Such is the way of the road, perhaps. The plan involves a desperate attempt at squeezing a low selling price for metal bits out of an old contact of yours in the town of Scrap Heap, stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin and bringing the cargo down south around the Molten Tongue to Devon via Avernum and Ash. There is a shortage of metal in Devon, and you know several buyers who would give a pretty price for your goods if you could only make it there before many others with a similar cargo do. Such contacts are the boon of the long decades spent on the road. But even if Narbo, that villain, gave you an agreeable price in Scrap Heap, the road is not without its perils. Sneaking through the gap between the dead forest and the Molten Tongue is inviting disaster, so it is not the path many of Vagrus would risk. And of course, if this fails, you are out of alternatives. But do you think Narbo will help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill, Javek wonders. And before we respond, just when the text in an event is highlighted pale blue, it means that you have found a codex entry. Clicking these opens the codex and navigates to the entry. I just want to find out a little bit more about the Scrap Heap. So yeah, Scrap Heap is a town on the edge of Imperial territory, just north of the Molten Tongue and south of the Forest of Shadows. And the Codex is a collection of entries you find throughout your travels. Entries contain information about the world and its inhabitants. When you have unread entries, the crystal on the cover of the Codex emanates light. Entries are displayed, the list on the left. You can search entries and filter. Cool! Searchable Codex. That's actually really nice. Unread entries are marked by a blue icon and appear on top, while already read entries have a gold icon, so I've already read Scrap Heap. Right? The text of the selected entry appears on the right. Information in the Codex is supplementary. It is there for those who wish to learn more about the Riven realms. But I just want to keep reading this. In the smoldering shadow of the great mountains of the west, Scrap Heap rarely sees sunlight, as the skies are forever ashen and overcast. The air is hot and dry, earthquakes are common. Most of the time, Scrap Heap is engulfed in smoke and ash, and a constant reddish twilight is upon it. Surrounded by a low wall, the town is indeed made of scrap and junk, mostly stone with metal scraps, as well as leather and cloth awnings. A single tall tower stands high above the town on a hill, housing a beacon that aids scavenger teams in their return, but also gives home to the Heap King. Inhabitants wear scarves and masks to aid their breathing. That's unfortunately topical. So let's close this. So, our plan. And the question, once again, to remind you, do you think Narbo will help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill, Javek wonders. One can only hope. I haven't seen him in years, but we always did good business. That said, you are not sure he would remember you, or if he is alive at all. Uh-oh, that's not promising. If he is not willing, we must find a way to compel him. There's no telling what you would be capable of if it came to that. That sounds desperate. Or he has to help us out. He won't be able to pass up the opportunity to make us indebted to him. Even the thought of selling yourself out in such a way makes you feel dirty. None of these are good. One can only hope. Let's just go with number one. I'm sure such sleazy bastards as Narbo would remember all the business they've ever done, Vagrus. Javex rubs his chin absent-mindedly. You've seen this expression of his too often not to realize he's using his sorceress talent to read your mind. Oh, whoa, this dude's a sorcerer? Get out of my head! You know the rules! Apologies! Javek rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is. It comes to me so naturally that sometimes I don't notice I'm doing it. Your thoughts were loud, Vagrus. I have to actually block them, you see. After joining your comitatus 6 years ago, Javek proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he's also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energies. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there are his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Not a pretty sight, but a very effective deterrence. Yet, because he's not a trained sorcerer, at least not in the traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he has kept his abilities a secret for many years overall, but you can't keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of a comitatus. Especially not if you keep bursting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there are only a handful of your comes who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years, certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he is less in control now, which suggests he is more on edge about this whole trip than he lets on. Apology accepted, you manage a faint smile. Let us return to the others and push on. There's still a day's travel ahead of us. Or just make sure it doesn't happen again. You grumble as you start to make your way down the ridge and back to the column. A long day of travel awaits you. I think I'm actually going to get a little bit cranky about this one. He knows. He knows he shouldn't be doing this. Just make sure it does not happen again. Both of you head west to join the column. You go back to the comitatus.
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrap Heap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivanda Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
So here's the question. This random traveler they meet that actually kind of sort of looks like me. Is he Javek? Or is he the person who's telling, or is he the character in the story? Is he you in the story? And I'm wondering if the story would be told any differently depending on which character he is. Like, is he a reliable narrator? Or is he kind of, blowing smoke? I don't know, we'll find out. Oh, yeah, right, we need to move on to Scrap Heap. Boom. At the foot of the ever-fuming mountains of the ancient dwarven kingdom lies Scrap Heap, the town is scavengers. Debris and junk is piled into veritable hills upon which the rickety homes of the decrepit inhabitants stand precariously. Ash lingers everywhere, and the sun is almost always absent from the twilight skies. Deals are struck day and night over the precious metal scraps gathered in the ruins of nearby Devendar Thar, while the Heap King oversees all from his dreaded tower. I guess that's the dreaded tower. Shady eyes and soot-covered faces watch from under ash-laden awnings. Life is cheaper than iron here, some say. And stories. And when a comitatus enters a settlement, you can select from a variety of options, each on its own separate pane, resolving around rest. These are the different panes. We've only got the first one. Around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to initiate stories located in the settlement. This time only the story pane is active, so I guess this is the story pane. This looks like it's a trading pane. That looks like it's supplies, and that looks like it's resting, I guess. Follow the only available story. Track down Narbo. Can he be convinced to help you? You make your way to the Wraith's stash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King. I'm getting Star Wars vibes here. Anybody else? This is like a fantasy Star Wars so far. There's a new empire. You're literally looking for, this ragamuffin on his last thing just to get you through this mountain pass. I can make the Kessel run in under 4 parsecs. But not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, what makes it perfect for Narbo. Maybe it's also Nabu. And his little operation of honest merchants. Apparently, the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javek, you leave the comitatus to the care of Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone negotiating. Ash is flitting from the black sky as you cross the street and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce it. Yet, they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger. And of course, they have no idea what Javik is capable of should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Narbo, one never knows. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back, the entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man, with whom you do not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large heap lizard on display. I guess that's the heap lizard? Ugh. Narbo was sitting at a table in the back, his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Make your way confidently over to Narbo, walk over to the bar, sit down at one of the vacant tables. Do we just walk out? Yeah, let's do it. Boom. Let's just walk up. Brazen-like. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Narbo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and a few missing teeth. What is it with bald dudes with beards these days? I don't know. Taking my gimmick. Part of his face is covered in scars similar to those left by old Burns, but not actually left by old Burns, only similar to them, which makes you wonder what it actually is, right? That, coupled with the withered and mutated left arm that hangs limply at his side, is a clear indication of the taint. That's an awkward word choice. The merchant wears a leather jerkin studded with small bronze and bone coins, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard, a lithe man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather, moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the wall. Narbo's mouth falls open as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder it has been 10 years. Language warning. The fuck, mate? He blinks. I thought you croaked. People, Narbo waves his good hand around and looks at his bodyguard. Told tales of your demise. The man finishes the sentence for him as the merchant nods vehemently. At business with Karnak outpost in the storm, Narbo adds. You tell me that you were indeed at Karnak when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. You add how many of your original comitatus died there. Close friends, old traveling companions. But you walked away unscathed. This was years ago. Shh! That fucker, if Irifons looked after you something fierce, Norbert chuckles heartily. But I'm sure you haven't come to reminisce about good old times, eh? His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. Apologize to him for the unfortunate way you parted 10 years ago. No, not doing that. Get down to business right away. You have no time to spare. But remind him that you do not like threats, especially not insinuated ones. Let's get down to business right away. We have no time to spare, which is true, we don't. You tell Narbo to let bygones be bygones and instead listen to what you have got to offer now. You got some balls coming here about business and bold. After a tense moment, his stern expression turns into a toothless smile. I like it. The bodyguard visibly becomes less tense. Narbo opens his arms wide and bows his head. Let's hear it, mate. You breathe in, a time to outline your proposition. You explain to Narbo how you want him to give you a discount on a shipment of metal scraps, which you will then smuggle into Devon through contacts you have in the city's underworld. The profit on the shipment would be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you are done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile. That sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it, he says as he shifts in his chair. That's a great plan. Except for the part where I give you a discount for asking and not much else. And I don't do that, mate. That would make me, an almoner. The bodyguard adds discreetly. That a word? Narbo looks up at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you. Oh yeah, an almoner, see? And I'm no almoner. You know you gotta do better than that. What you got for me? And, okay, going back down here. Some choices have dependencies, meaning you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite. Perks, companions, resources, journal entries, and so on. I think that's these? Yeah, that's the modifiers. This only happens if we have quality Narbo's secret, which I guess we don't know Narbo's secret, which maybe we could have discovered if we'd taken other paths through the story. And some choices involve tests that can be failed or succeeded with different consequences. Perks, characters, and resources can change the chance of success in tests. Test difficulty is represented by a number between 1 and 100 that you need to roll equal to or below. So higher is good. I don't know what moderate chance of success means. Persuasion. So that's what, 12? And this is, what, 21? But I don't know what moderate means. Or we can just reveal that we are in a bad spot and this is your last chance. You'll make a tidy profit off it, but we'll owe him a favor. Moderate chance of success. Let's roll the bones here. We failed. Dang it. After considerable pause, Narbo scratches his beard in thought, then turns to you again. Fair enough. We used to run together. I know you are capable. But just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. The moment you make the deal in Devon, you come back here and we share. I want quarter. No haggling that. You frown when you accept his proposal, but inside you are gleeful. You cannot have hoped for a better result. In truth, a quarter of the price is not only doable, but would leave you with enough to keep paying your crew for several future jobs. It could be a new start. Narbo instructs you to give him an hour, then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you on the metal scraps by then. I expect you to return within 2 months, give or take. Failing that, you'll be hunted. Have no doubt about that. And you know what? I can mobilize half the bounty hunters in the realms. When you nod, Narbo motions to his men. You and Jabek stand up and make ready to leave. Ravier will take you back to the back exit. We don't want to give people the idea that they can come here to beg for almonds now, do we? You got what you came for, so you leave the Wraith stash through the back entrance and head back to the Comitatus. Your journal, indicated on the bottom left, is now active. That's right behind my head. Fantastic. It's your means to follow stories and tasks. We can walk up to the tower. Perhaps it's time to visit the Heap King. Or we can stroll to the Scrounger's Lane. But let's check out the journal so far. This is our journal. It's lovely. We can search everything again, which is beautiful. Love it. The journal allows you to view your quests, tasks, and other related information. You can search for entries and filter them drop-down filter buttons. Yay! Objectives are your quests and ongoing stories. The text of a selected list item appears on the right. These describe the quest. The This is pretty much basic. Tasks are non-narrative missions and goals you can complete for rewards. So objectives are like the main quest, I guess, and tasks are just side missions. And qualities can be statuses, gathered instrument, and secrets. Unread entries of blue exclamation marks. So we've completed something. No, we can't even expand this. That's there. What are our qualities? We have no qualities. And this is the Wandering Old Man. Deliver the Wandering Old Man to Ash. Where do we get the Wandering Old Man? I mean, we don't even know where Ash is. And the shipment. Find your contact in Scrap Heap and strike a deal with him. Check. Done. Buy everything for the journey at the market. 24 scrap metal goods, have at least 800 supplies, and the awnings equipment. Okay. So let's do that. Market pane is now active. Sweet. And this is how we trade. Buy or sell one increment by clicking the buy or sell next to buy or sell. Holding shift is a whole stack. Sweet. Drag and drop the icon for buying or selling stacks of goods, and holding shift and clicking the icon. So we need 24 scrap metal. Let's just buy all of it. 24 scrap metal. Fantastic. We need 800 supplies. We only have 700. So let's buy another 100. Whoops. That's 800 supplies. Yeah? Fantastic. Equipment that you can attach to the comitatus is sold on some markets or found throughout your travels. They provide bonuses, and upgrades. You can switch between the markets and equipment, so cargo and equipment, boom, awesome. Awnings, as 25 less consumption, worker consumption. Linen awnings stretched over saddles and carts to block harmful weather effects and provide shade. Cool, we've got awnings. We also have supplies. 250 units per stack, a bundle of bread from root grain with vegetables or mushrooms, a bit of dried meat if you are lucky. Nice. And then scrap metal. Yes. So much awesomeness. And equipment you own are in a pool below the comitatus, and this is the stuff that we own, and then this is where we can equip it. Awnings can be placed on things that match its type. Awnings is there. Fantastic. It's a harness. Sweet. Items, the third type of cargo, do not take up, and this is down here, do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. They are used for trading in certain events. You can switch panes into settlement, and the active pane will open the corresponding pane. With the comitatus management on the left, you can now freely check the settlement tabs. When you're done exploring, click on the arch icon on the bottom right to leave Scrap Heap. But you know what? I mean, we can keep going back. We're definitely going to walk up to the tower. Maybe not tower, but we're going to stroll Scrounger's Lane, but that will have to wait until the next episode. This is already a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's fine. I'm loving this game. This is Vagrus, the Riven Realms, and I'm going to be playing a lot more of this in the future, so please come back if you like it. Check it out. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Have a fantastic day.